He has held a number of leadership positions in advertising and sales, and is an expert in sales. He's also started his own company and authored a book called It's Not Magic, It's Logic, and has a number of other book and other projects that he's working on, as well as his regular day job. So I'm going to turn things over to Stuart so that he can tell you about what's important to him and what he thinks you guys should know, and he's going to talk for a while, and then we'll have an opportunity for some Q&A. So, Stuart, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks. Appreciate it. I want to thank Dean Zuckerman for inviting me back. I mean, I appreciate it. I love the opportunity to come back. Rachel, thank you. Rachel Travers, thank you for organizing this entire thing. We've been going back and forth for several weeks now, so it's been great. A couple other people I'd like to thank is, before I get started, is Professor Kamarmi allowed me to spend time in his class today, which I thought was great. It was a wonderful opportunity to spend some time with the students in his class. Sarah Flade, we had lunch today. She had some great questions. I thought that was a really awesome opportunity. And Becky Cable toured me around campus, which has changed dramatically in the time that I was here. I mean, half the things just were not here then. So, I appreciate that. It was a really good day, and I appreciate all of you being here tonight as well. I'm going to start out. I want to tell you a little story about my 6-year-old daughter. My daughter is, right, father thinks his daughter's the smartest thing in the world. She's borderline, right? She's smart, she's not smart. But we had to go to kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, so she could test for, I don't know what, pre-test to see what they're going to put her, what teacher they're going to put her with. So this 6-year-old wakes up in the morning all excited. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to this new school. I'm all excited. I'm going to meet Mrs. Rogers, which was this teacher that had been talked about by her friend who was older than her. She was all excited to meet Miss Rogers, who was going to be her teacher. And we get up that morning. I go to the shower. I get dressed. My wife goes in the shower. She gets dressed. We go and get my daughter. We take her downstairs. She's all pumped up. She's like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going all excited. She's talking about it. And now, keep in mind, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and this meeting's not till 11:30. So I've got 2.5 hours of this crazy, excited 6-year-old jumping up and down, getting ready to go to school. And, time rolls by. Finally we get 11:30. We get over to the school. And we go in, and Mrs. Rogers is there, and Ryan's all excited. My daughter's name's Ryan. Ryan's all excited, and she's like, I want to do this, and this little test. And we talk to the teacher for a while. She talks with us, and it's one-on-one. So everybody has their own time. Everybody has their own time slot. And we go back to the classroom. And Ryan sits down, and she's all excited, and they put the test in front of her. And she starts to take this test. And we're talking with the teacher, and we're thinking nothing of it. So time goes by, and she's going through these questions. It's not a lot of questions, but all of a sudden, Ryan stops, puts the pencil down, stops. And we're like a little confused. We're not sure. Is she done? Ryan, are you done? She goes, no. I said, okay, so what's the matter? So she looks, and she's got this word problem. So Ryan looks at the word problem, looks at her mother, looks at me, looks back at the word problem, looks up at the teacher, and this precocious 6-year-old says, too hard, not doing it. Right to the teacher's face. Too hard, not doing it. So we laughed a little bit, but we were completely mortified that our daughter is like, this is too hard, I'm not doing it. At 6 years old. Where does she get this from? Where does she learn this from? So, needless to say, the teacher was fine, we didn't do the problem, but it made me start to think about something. It made me start to think about how many people look at a challenge and say, it's too hard, I'm not doing it. So think about that for a little bit. We'll get back to it later, but it's always interesting to think about that. So, I tell you that story as kind of like an opening. We talked a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit more about my background. I left Ithaca in 1991. I was kind of not sure where I was going to go. I knew I wanted to go into business. My dad had been in business. I originally wanted to go to law school, but that kind of faded quickly. And I went to work for an advertising company. I went into sales for an advertising company, and then I quickly moved into a leadership role. I left there after about 4 years, and I started my own company, which I sold after 3 years. After selling my company, I spent a lot of time just kind of figuring out, I wouldn't say a lot of time, 6 months, 8 months, trying to figure out what was next for me. What was my next step? What was the thing I was going to do next? And basically I went to work in the industry that I'm in now. I went to work for a large corporation that was selling services to small business. And I did that for about 7 years. I left there and I went to work for a similar organization, running the entire Northeast for them. They were based in the Midwest, and I ran the entire Northeast for them. Similar industry for about 3.5 years. And after that, I decided to make my way south, and I spent 6 years in Florida. Similar sales positions, sales leadership roles all along the way. Ever since probably 2.5 years out of college, I was in a sales leadership role, and I had spent my entire career in a sales leadership role after that. So after 6 years in Florida, I made my way west. And now I'm based in Los Angeles. I work for a company called TriNet. We are an on-demand HR partner. We help small business realize their ambitions. In that time, I wrote a book. Dean Zuckerman mentioned it. I wrote a book called It's Not Magic, It's Logic. It's on simplifying the sales process. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about inspiration tonight. I was inspired to do that from a few people, my dad being one of them, to write that book, my sales reps being another. And I recently started a foundation called Capture Foundation, and we're focused on creating a promising future. So just a little bit of my background, a little bit of my history. I want to talk to you about 2 topics tonight. I want to talk to you about leadership, and I want to talk to you about inspiration. Many years ago, someone asked me, what makes a leader, and what is leadership? So it's kind of an interesting question, and I had to really think about it, because leadership is a lot of things. I thought about the people that were leaders in sales organizations and companies I'd worked for, and were they really leaders, though? And they had leadership titles, right? So everything would make you believe they were leaders. They held leadership positions. They thought they were leaders. They tell you they were leaders, right? They talk about it like, oh, I'm the leader of this group. But were they really, truly leaders? Did they really do the things that leaders do in these positions? I felt like they lacked something. I really did. I mean, not all of them. Some of them were great. I learned from a lot of them, a lot of mentors along the way. But I felt like they lacked something, some kind of qualities. The dictionary defines leadership as he who guides or directs a group, act or instance of leading, guidance, or direction. So after reading that, I'm thinking about, okay, guiding a group, guidance, direction. Well, they certainly did that. They certainly did some of that. But I don't know if I'd still consider them leaders, a lot of them. Leadership's not something you decide or something that's given to you. It's something that's earned. Something that comes with time. It's something that's not self-appointed. And having a title before or after your name certainly does not automatically make you a leader. Leaders are highly respected by those around them. They're never afraid to show vulnerability. That's very important in a leader. You have to be able to be vulnerable. If you're not, you'll never gain the trust of your people. You'll never gain the trust of those around you. Leaders are what I would call our modern-day superheroes. They really are. Knowledge is their superpower that they possess. They want to learn. They want to continue to learn. They want to continue to grow. If they don't grow themselves, they can't better us. We feel more secure when they know more. And I think that's a key factor of a leader. The more they know, the better we feel. I think leaders are admired. Leaders are admired not only for what they do, but the way that they do it. Some of the great leaders I know, they always leave a legacy. All leaders leave a legacy, right? Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., Eleanor Roosevelt, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs. I mean, these are great leaders in their field, in history. They always leave something behind for us to learn from and to grow with. And I think that's a key factor in a leader. You have to have that, and you have to bring that home. I'm looking at my watch, so I don't keep you guys all night. As I studied great leaders, I started to develop what I thought the commonalities were amongst great leaders. What do great leaders have? What do they all possess? All great leaders have pride. They're passionate about what they do and what they want out of life and what they want for the people behind them that are following them, right? They have a responsibility. They know that what they say and do affects a lot of people around them. They have integrity. They do the right thing even when someone's not watching. They have a high or strong determination. No matter what the obstacle, no matter what they need to overcome, they figure out a way to get there and they get over it. And they have a very high level of emotional intelligence. All these great men and women that I mentioned, and others that I'm sure we could talk about all night long, they all possess these qualities. But there's still one thing missing. There's one thing missing that leaders have to have, or they can't be considered leaders. Followers. Without followers, you can't be a leader. John Maxwell said, "He who thinks he leads but has no followers is only taking a walk." Pretty interesting, right? How many people do you know that were just taking a walk? Leaders are able to rally a group for a common cause. They raise all of us to new heights to get amazing results, things we could never think were possible. They give us always something to strive for. Simply said, leaders inspire us, inspire others to greatness. So it was interesting this morning. I was in the classroom this morning and they asked me a lot of great questions. There was a lot of great questions about my company. There was a lot of great questions about what we do. What am I going to see when I get out in the real world? What am I going to experience a few years down the road when I'm looking at jobs, or next year when I'm looking at a job, or whatever it may be? And then one question came up which was really interesting. Someone asked in the second morning group, said, "How do you motivate your people?" Kind of an interesting question because I think my response kind of took them by surprise. I said, "I don't." They said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I don't think you can motivate people." Motivation to me is innate. It's within you. It's within every individual. It's something you have inside you. You either do or you don't. If you want to go to the gym after a long day at work, you're going to go to the gym. I'm not going to get you there. If you want to get up early for class and go learn something, you're going to do it. I can't get you there. You have to have inner motivation. You're going to be motivated to go do it or not do it. But what I can do as an individual, or what leaders do is leaders inspire. They inspire the inner motivation. They bring that out of you. They reach depths that you can't get to yourself, and they show you where that is. And they bring that out of people. So the motivation's there, but the inspiration comes from outside. The motivation comes from inside. It's kind of that awakening drive that allows us to do really miraculous things. So when I think about miraculous things, I think about a story of Roger Bannister. I don't know if everybody in this room knows who Roger Bannister is, but Roger Bannister was a world-class runner. And on May 6th of 1954, he did something really, truly amazing. And it wasn't what he did on the 6th, it's what happened after the 6th that was really amazing. But I'll tell you the story about what he did. Up until that point, nobody had ever broken the 4-minute mile. Scientists, doctors, they said it was impossible. Human body couldn't run that fast. It was dangerous. Somebody would die if they did it. There's no way you could run faster than the 4-minute mile. Bannister himself tried numerous times and just couldn't do it. Legend had it that, thousands of years before, people tied bulls to themselves to try to run faster. It just couldn't happen. It was impossible. 4 minutes, 1 second, it stood for the longest time, 9 years. And then on May 6th of 1954, it was a Thursday, Roger Bannister went out and he ran in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. Unbelievable. Never been done. People were amazed by it. And I think the amazing thing that he did was not running in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. The amazing thing he did is he inspired an entire generation. Because following Roger Bannister running that, the year after that, 24 people ran the mile in under 4 minutes. Today, high school kids are running the mile in under 4 minutes. He did something that nobody could do, but what he did afterwards was the key. It wasn't what he did himself, it's what he did for an entire generation of people. Inspiration is the one thing that really excites us. It gets us to make a difference. You know, I talk about the foundation, the things I did. I'm inspired to do things because of people around me, not because of what I find inside me. And that's what inspiration does. It's the ability to leverage emotion to influence belief. I think inspiration takes many forms. It comes as encouragement from a parent. It comes as challenge from a coach. And it comes as thought-provoking from a teacher or a mentor. It can come in a lot of different forms. You have to be open to hear it. You have to be open to listen for it, but it's there if you're paying attention. In order to inspire others, in order to inspire, you need to have vision. You need to dream big. You need to have groundbreaking ideas. You need to be not afraid to set audacious goals. You can't be afraid of the impossible. No such thing as impossible. If you're a true inspiring leader, no such thing. Nothing's impossible. You need to take an active role too. A lot of people preach. A lot of people talk about it. No, not a lot of people do it. Think about Roger Bannister. He could have talked about running a 4-minute mile, but he went out and did it. It was his goal to do it. He wasn't talking about to someone else so they could go do it. He went and did it himself. You need to show those who have chosen to follow you that the challenges you're going to face along the way, and there's going to be a lot of them, those challenges are not insurmountable. They're just a journey. It's just a way of getting through it. It's part of the road. It's part of where you're going. How am I doing on time? Doing pretty good? I'm doing fast because I'm actually going to wrap up soon, which is good because we'll get a lot of questions, and these guys will be happy they get to go out. But remember that 6-year-old? Remember that 6-year-old? Well, she's now 13. And she's, what? That's okay. She's, a year away from high school. Things have changed a lot. She's changed a lot. She's almost as tall as I am now. She's active in a lot of events, a lot of things. Dance is her big thing, though. She's doing great in school. That's wonderful. Things have changed, but dance is her big thing. So for years, she's been dancing, and she loves it. And this year, for the first time, the teacher in her class asked her if she would be part of the competition team, which is a big step for her, and it's really exciting, and it's something she really wanted to do, and just wasn't sure she'd ever get that opportunity. And she's now part of this dance competition team. So I have since moved to California. I've gotten divorced. Her mom and her live in New Jersey, and I see her a lot, but not often enough. Thank God for technology, because there's a lot of FaceTime going back and forth, right, that we do. Thank God I can use technology. But she loves this. So she's showing me dance on FaceTime, and she's doing her dances, and she's loving it, and she's having a great time. And I'm like, how are you doing? And I talk to her every day about it, and I ask her, how's it going? You know, are you doing okay? Because I started competing in sports when I was like 6 years old. So for me, by the time I got to 13, competitive was normal for me. I didn't know anything different. This is her first real entree into competitive anything. So I thought she'd be scared. So I ask her all the time, how are you doing? Is it going okay? Is practice great? Is this great? So this would go on. This went on for, this whole year, and the first competition's coming up. So I'm on FaceTime with her the other day, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, Ryan, are you ready? Are you nervous? Like, how's it going? Are you gonna do well? And I'm really drilling her on questions. And I'm in a mid-sentence about to ask her for like the 800th time, like parents do, that we're going to ask 800 times the same question. I'm sure your parents do the same thing. Mid-sentence, she stops me and she said, Daddy, don't worry. You all have a huge responsibility. You are the future. You set the standard for what's going to happen next. You are the men and women in this room that will shape the next generation and change the world. The challenges we're going to face in the next 10, 15, 50, 100 years are much greater than they are today. Much greater. Things we don't even know about are on the horizon. Things are popping up on a daily basis. And you're going to be part of it. You're going to change that. You're going to take on those challenges. What are you going to do to create a better future and inspire others to join you? The next time you're faced with a challenge, are you going to be the one that looks at it and says, too hard, not doing it? Or are you going to be the one that says, I got this? Thank you all very much. Questions?
What would you say about people in your journey, who come along and kind of discourage you from wanting to succeed, not out of a malicious intent, but just kind of a discouragement of just like, oh, you'll never be able to do that, or oh, don't try to do that, because they don't see what you see. How do you kind of find dealing and responding to that?
What would you do?
Well, generally, I guess I take it in,
Yeah.
process it, and then decide if that's something I'm going to choose to believe or not.
Well, is it your dream? See, here's what I believe. No dream is too big, and no dream is unachievable. Ever. Ever. And those that are discouraging you, I'd separate myself from them so fast, I wouldn't even look back. I would just separate myself from them so quick. Because nobody should be able to step on your dream, ever. You ask what I would do, that's what I would do. Anybody else?
What do you do on those days of where the inspiration's not there? You're like yourself. What do you do?
You have it. I think there are days like that. Nothing's perfect. There's going to be days where there's no inspiration. That's when I'm very self-motivated. So that's when I jump on myself inwardly, and I try to find my own. Or I look for it. You can look for it. You just got to look for it somewhere. The problem is it's everywhere. My daughter inspires me. She's 13. My boss inspires me some days. I read something. Watch something. Look at. That's where you can find inspiration if it's not right there in front of you. There's always something you can find it if you look. Or I go back to something that inspired me in the past, and I play it again, either in my head or,
So I feel like you were saying that inspiration is something that comes from the individual, and it doesn't have to be, even though you try to motivate and inspire other people by your passion and inspiration. It's ultimately something that you as an individual have to create and use this emotional intelligence and insight that you just lectured us about to be inspired.
Well, I think I create emotion in you that gets you motivated to go do what you want to do. So I can't motivate you to go change the world, right? But if you're interested in changing the world, I might be able to inspire you to bring that motivation out and go do it. So inspiration, I think, comes from the outside. It comes from things around you to create that emotion. If you're watching something on TV, how many times has that happened, or you read something, something sparked an emotion in you? You're motivated to go do what you want to do. Similar to what you just asked me. This is what I want to do. It's my dream. I'm motivated to go do that. But I need somebody to kind of push me over the edge, or something to push me over the edge. So it doesn't always come from a person. I don't think inspiration always comes from a person.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I think inspiration comes from a lot of things. It could come from a person. It could come from something that happens. It could come from an event. It could come from something you read. It could come from a million places. I just think inspiration comes from things outwardly. Motivation comes from things inwardly. It's not that. It's not for sure.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
what I've seen and what I've experienced. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just it was just like a thought, because I just felt like what exactly what you said, inspiration comes from the individual, what you see around, what you make out of it, to inspire yourself and motivate yourself, and that will eventually, I guess, show off your own personality and inspire others to be.
I think you inspire others. I think you motivate yourself. I think you inspire others. That's what I think. I think you motivate yourself, but you inspire others. With what you do, right? You do well. I mean, think about it from a classroom perspective, right? If there's a test that's really hard, right, and you do really well on it, and no one else in the class does well, but they want to do on the next one, they're inspired to learn more to get to the level you're at. From your achievement, from your success. Question? Over here. No hands? You have a question? Of course. This was planned. No, just kidding.
Actually, to follow on from what you just said, I'm wondering how you inspire, as a sales leader, how you inspire the salespeople who work for you. Because you're the inspiration coming from the outside.
Yeah.
How do you inspire them?
Yeah, so what I look for is I look for things that have happened in the organization to motivate them. To inspire them, to raise their motivation. So, for example, things like, we talked about challenges, right? I said it comes in a lot of different ways. So encouragement, I'll encourage them to do better if they've been pushing hard and they haven't gotten to their goal. I'll encourage them that they're going to get there. They're going to get there. Let me show you how you're going to get there. Let me tell you what happened to me. Let me give you a story of what's happened. I was in the same situation. That'll inspire them to maybe do it. Or I'll talk about it as a challenge. I'll pit two people against each other. Possibly, I may challenge them like that. I may say, you've got an opportunity to be number one in this company. By doing these things, you could be number one. The inspiration comes from, I want to be number one. They're motivated to be number one, they're going to want it. If they're not motivated to be number one, then that's not going to matter. So as a leader, I need to know what my people are motivated by, right? What motivates them internally, and then how do I inspire them? How do I tap into that motivation? That answer that? Anybody else?
Who was your favorite icon growing up?
Favorite icon growing up? Probably Wayne Gretzky. Everybody know the story about Gretzky? So Gretzky talks about, this is a really good, nice thing. Gretzky talks about, he skated to where the puck was going, not to where the puck was. Right? So he talked about that. So I think about it from a business perspective, from a company perspective, from a you perspective. Think about the world around you and go where the puck's going to be. Go where the world's going. Don't go where it is today. Because by the time you get there, it's going to be too late. Go where it's going to be. That's the vision piece, right? That's why I love it, because you got a vision for something else.
So when you said a leader leaves a legacy,
Yeah.
what does that legacy consist of necessarily?
Could be anything. It could be a lot of things. Think about the people I talked about. What's Lincoln's legacy? What's Martin Luther King's legacy? What is Steve Jobs' legacy? It's right there. It just happens, right? Perfect example. That's Steve Jobs' legacy. What's his legacy? He changed the world. He changed what we're doing today. How many people in this room have iPhones? How many people in this room, better yet, how many people in this room have smartphones? I would say everybody probably almost has a smartphone, right? So that's because of what he did. Technology, what he's done, what he's changed the way we do things. He's changed the way we see the world today. My mom's 76 years old and she has an iPhone. That's what I'm talking about. That's a life changer. That's a legacy that you leave. It can be anything. It can be anything. I'm doing the foundation. That to me is the legacy I want to leave. Creating a promising future. Doing something for education. By the way, it's based in education. Something for education because that's the future. You in this room are the future. I'm the past. I am. I'm the here maybe the now, but I'm really the past. By the time you're out and about doing things in the world next 2, 3, 5 years, I'm the past. You guys are the future. You're going to create the legacy. You're going to create what's next. You're going to inspire the next generation.
So
my daughter is 13.
What's Wayne Gretzky's legacy?
Wayne Gretzky's legacy is that he, think about the teams. So if you look at Gretzky, and I don't know all the stats, but if you look at Gretzky, and you look at the team he was on when he was on Edmonton, how many of those people are stars because he was on that team and he led that team? I can't even name them all. The only one that was a star on his own, created his own, was his own leader, was Messi. Everybody else was because of Gretzky. Everybody. So just take a look at that. Google how many people, and you're like, I know him, I know him, I know him, I know him. How many people do you know because Gretzky was on that team and he led that team to greatness? Plus the fact that I'm talking about him, and I'm not even in sports. I don't even play hockey. I never played hockey, and I talk about skating where the puck's going. So.
What does your foundation do exactly?
It's a good question, so maybe you can help me figure that out. So, creating a promising future is what the basis of the foundation is. So initially the foundation started in, it was supposed to be based, it's all based in education, right? So it was basically to start out to give middle school kids monies to go to private school in Los Angeles. The problem and the challenge we were faced is that there's no public transportation system in the Los Angeles market. That's like a New York market. So getting around for a kid in Compton, California, is very hard to get to school in Pacific Palisades. And parents can't take them because parents have no means to get there. So we're trying to figure out if there's a solution like that and keep it in that area. If it's not, it'll be to fund schools in some way so that these students can get the education that they need. So it'll be based in something in that space. Filling that gap that's not already filled in that education program. So board's meeting on a weekly basis trying to figure out the right fit to make sure we're leaving a lasting mark and we can take it national. It's not just based in Los Angeles. So we'll take it nationwide at some point. That's the vision. Take it nationwide. Raise a certain amount of money this year. It's already on, how much, and then moving on, creating an endowment, and creating more money. So we're working on it. Hopefully next time we talk, it'll be baked out, but it's not totally baked out yet. It is based on education, though, and we'll be around filling that gap. Answer?
How come you decided on bringing them into private schools instead of that Kansas City schools that we were in?
Good. Well, that's part. See, private schools is a very big thing in Los Angeles. So when we were there, we were actually approached by private and charter schools for this purpose. So that's what kind of sparked the interest. Myself and my CFO were approached about that private school thing. So that's kind of where that kind of got based in. But the more we thought about it, the more we talked about it, that came up. So why are we not doing it for more vast majority of kids? So we're still working on it. That's why we're trying to work on some of the kids. This is the early stages of it. Hopefully in a year or two it will not be early anymore. It'll be kind of taken on. But I'm tapping into a lot of resources. I mean, Dean Zuckerman and I were talking about it today. I mean, anybody who has ideas, we're open. We want that kind of thought process, and that's a great one. That's a great, but that was brought up because the same thing happened. We said, why are we doing this for this small group? It's too small. So, questions? Anything else?
Maybe a virtual internship for somebody. If you need an intern to help you do some research,
I'm okay with that.
We've had internships where the person does the internship here, but
Yeah.
is, you're good with technology.
I'm open to
you're
that.
with your daughter,
I'm open to that.
There might be a virtual internship
I'm open to that.
to work to help.
I'm open. I'll keep you updated on when we're in that spot. We need the IRS to say yes first. We're working on that. Now the government shut down. It's gonna be hard to get that answer, so that's gonna take a little longer now. Anybody else have a question? I'll be after for a while if you have questions. If you don't want to.
You said we're the leaders of the future.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Are you? Are you the leader of the
I
future?
think so.
Okay.
And since the world's moving more to a globalization kind of aspect, we have to deal with a lot more different cultures and ethnicities that we're used to now. What skills should we focus on, like strengthening to be able to lead someone else, not really just like us, but
Yeah.
in everything like.
Yeah. So I think understanding global economy is really important. It's going to be a big factor in the future. Understanding that. Having an understanding of cultural differences is important. There's a lot of cultural differences out there that I'm finding more so that I've gone to LA than anywhere. That you have to understand the social relationship. You have to understand that from a cultural perspective. And then I would say language is huge. Make sure if you can learn more languages, if you can be more worldly in that respect, I think it's important because you're right. We are going to a global space. We're going to more global economic. And it's just the way it's going to be. The jobs are not all going to be here. They're going to be elsewhere. And you're going to have to be able to lead in other environments. You understand? And always be open to learning and asking questions. Ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Please don't be afraid to say, I don't know. That is like the 3 most important words. Because if you don't say it, people are going to assume you're set. And then you're going to get lost. And you're going to get lost, and it's going to be too late to kind of get it back. I saw another hand somewhere. I'll get you in a second over here.
The position that you're in now, how is that more fulfilled, kind of your dreams and inspiration, prior to the other jobs, many different jobs that you had and then left? And then
Yeah, so when my daughter was born, I changed and thought about being selfless. Because another thing I didn't mention is leaders are selfless, right? It's all about everyone else. It's not about them. So my inspiration came from her and the opportunity to spend time and think about somebody else other than myself. And it made me believe I wanted to help others and do other things. That's when I started developing sales teams. That's when I started working in organizations, being a leader in sales and so on. So that's what got me there. My daughter was my inspiration to get me to start thinking about somebody other than me. Can I answer your question? Yeah, I mean, it's just something got me. That was what got me there. And the book writing came from both my dad and my friend Jeff. You know, everything. There was always something. I could tie inspiration to everything that happened. Jeff had written 2 books, and I was like, I'm going to be like Jeff. Jeff wrote 2 books. I'm going to be just like Jeff. And then my dad actually passed away of cancer in 2009, and I wanted the book out before my dad passed away so you could see it. So my inspiration was get it out before he goes, so you could see it. And the foundation came from his wanting to leave a legacy to say that we got to make the world a better place. We used to talk about it all the time. So that's how the foundation came. So I tie everything I've done has been tied to that. But I've been motivated to do it. I've wanted to go do it. I just needed something to get me across the threshold. Right? Couple things. 2 things in particular. Reading. A lot of reading. I've probably read every single sales or marketing or leadership book that I could get my hands on. Every one of them. And I still do it today. I still read as many as I can. I don't read them when I'm writing books. Because if I read them when I'm writing books, I always go, is that my idea or is that their idea? So I just don't do that. But I read them all the time. And then asking a lot of questions of people I consider to be mentors. People I looked up to. People I admired. That I thought were leaders. And try to follow in their footsteps. And learn things from them. Are you wrapping me up? Am I getting the red light in the back of the room that says it's time to go? Is it time to go? Is there one more question?
Is there one more question? Pick one more question, and I know Stuart said he'd be available
I'll
if
stay.
people
I'll
want
hang.
to talk and have something you want to ask him one-on-one. So one final question.
One, or is that it? Is that our final question of the night? Is that our final
I
answer?
shut things down. So I'd like to thank Stuart for coming and giving this great inspirational talk. It seems like it really resonated with you, and I agree with him. You are the leaders of the future, and really appreciate Stuart coming and talking about this and tapping in. And hopefully, any of you have additional questions, you can talk to Stuart. And I know he wants to stay connected. And we have a nice Ithaca College School of Business bag
great. Thanks so much.
and something like
Thank you all very much. I appreciate you coming. I wish you all the best of luck. I really do.